Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady, and one of the topics we hear a lot about here in Iowa is homelessness. And I don't want to be cavalier about this. It's a very serious topic. And because it's a serious topic, we brought in a serious player, Andy Bales, formerly of Good Samaritan Urban Ministries, but also formerly Union Rescue Mission from Los Angeles, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yes. Till December 31st, I was the president and CEO of Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row in Los Angeles, the largest rescue mission of its kind in the U.S. and certainly in the most impacted area of anybody for homelessness.
Yeah, it's one of the. I don't know if you know the data, but is it probably one of the most? I don't know what the right word to say here is, but does it have probably the leading homelessness problem in the country?
Yes.
Is it one? Yeah, that's
yes.
probably
So
a better way to say it.
In general, has 1/2 of the street homelessness of the entire U.S.
Oh my!
1/3 of the homelessness. L.A. has 75,000 people devastated by homelessness.
Wow.
And 50-some thousand on the streets, just on the streets. No city comes close. I don't even know if any city has 1/10 of what L.A. has on the streets. New York City, equal in homelessness, but they address it in a way that they only have 3,400 people on the streets.
Got it.
In New York, while we have over 50,000 on the streets. We couldn't have done worse if we had tried to do worse.
You now, for those that didn't catch it, you were Good Samaritan was an Iowa ministry right here, based out of Des Moines, and then you went to Skid Row. And now you're back. You're going to be working with CFM, I believe.
Yes.
Correct? And so I guess the big question is, well, first of all, I didn't know that. Like, why is California having such a problem with homelessness? Is it simply a matter of it's a better temperature and you can be on the street because it's warmer, or is there a deeper problem?
It's a much deeper problem.
Yeah, I'd like to get
weather is a bit of an issue, but that's true in maybe 10 to 20%. The rest is people go to California to make it big. Some make it and some don't. And, that's true of everybody, right? People who are homeless and others. But the problem is the policies, the values, the lack of compassion. I mean, just think of a city allowing 50-some thousand people to stay on the streets. We have more deaths by hypothermia in Los Angeles than New York City or San Francisco combined.
Wow.
Just because of the sheer number of people left on the streets. It's not that the weather's worse than New York or San Francisco, but I think in a couple of days there's going to be an atmospheric rainstorm coming to L.A., and when it's 40 degrees and rain in L.A., you can die of hypothermia, and nobody's stepping up to make room for anybody to come in. There's no infrastructure for shelter. There's no way that you can immediately find shelter if you want it. And finally, the general media, L.A. Times and others, they've quit listening to the myths, and they've started digging in. And they're starting to realize we've blown it. Before I left, I wrote an article for the LA Times, or participated in an article for the LA Times, and it was about a Time magazine headline that said, "Is LA going to hell?" It was like 30 years ago. I said, as far as homelessness, the people in LA who are experiencing homelessness are already experiencing a bit of hell on earth. They're hoping and praying that the toilets will open up so they don't get urinary tract infections by the morning when they open up. They're shivering, hoping the sun will rise so they don't freeze to death. 6 people per day are dying of homelessness, complications of homelessness every day. 6 people per day in LA. And until we start seeing that number go down, we're in trouble. And here's the biggest issue. About 10, 12 years ago, they switched to the idea of harm reduction housing first.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about this.
Yeah. So very expensive, slow to develop units for a few, while the many stay out on the streets.
And it's a version of housing. It's like a small housing complex or a unit of some kind.
It's like a studio, but the costs have risen to one that's being pushed forward. It's going to be like $1 million per unit.
Whoa.
$1 million per unit to have subpar.
That would buy a mansion here in Des Moines.
Subpar, crime-filled, dirty. There was a recent article about a guy, and finally the LA Times is on it. It took me more than 10 years to get them on it, but now they're digging in. And the headline, I will never forget the headline. The guy said, "I never felt subhuman until I lived here." And he was talking about this permanent supportive housing harm reduction model where you get subsidized for life, right? By billions of dollars of tax money, but the drugs freely flow, the crime freely flows, anything goes.
Okay, so there's a question here then, which is, there was an interview that I don't know if it was an interview now that I can't remember, but when you were leaving, I think one of the local news stations talked about your contribution to the area. And one of the things that it addressed is a lot of people will just throw money at this and they will say, we'll just buy housing for everyone and that will fix the issue. Why? It sounds like that is not the primary issue. It sounds like there are multiple issues. So tell me, why can't we just make a bunch of, like, if we can get the cost really low and do just a ton of tiny homes everywhere, why will that not fix the issue? I think people see, hey, people are living on the streets, we'll just give them a bunch of houses, problem solved. Why is it not that simple?
So not only will the housing not solve it, but the way LA is doing the housing, very expensive. There's not enough tax money in the world to do the myth that they want to carry out. $1 million unit for the rest of somebody's life to live in survival mode or even addiction mode and suffer and die, right? So the philosophy is totally skewed and off and false and never should have gone down that road. But they bought in hook, line, and sinker and thought this is the silver bullet to end homelessness. So first of all, you could have done mobile homes or container homes or 3D printed concrete homes or prefab homes or bigger tiny homes like 300 square feet with a bathroom and a kitchen. You could have gone down that road and produced a lot more housing for a lot more people. Sure. But here's the problem. They believe that people have the right to carry on their addiction, that addiction is part of homelessness. So there's this group, and they're relentless. They believe that using fentanyl, even hard drug, killer drug, is like drinking a cup of coffee. And they're pushing that agenda. And it's nonsense.
That is crazy.
If Iowans in general would come out and visit California, they would be in shock about how wrong is right and right is wrong, and how somebody like me from Des Moines with a little bit of common sense is just very peculiar. And they say I speak the truth. And I got honored by the city council before I left, and they honored me for speaking the truth to power. And then one city councilman said, you just merely speak the truth. And I said, well, let me speak a little more truth. You will never end homelessness by carrying on the policies that you're currently carrying on. Housing for a few, right? Subpar, crime-filled, dirty, too slow to develop, expensive. Housing for a few.
So
while you leave tens of thousands on the streets with nowhere to go. That's the biggest heartbreak. People have nowhere to go.
So the misconception is that the core problem, the problem that actually creates homelessness, is lack of a home. And therefore, in some people's minds, it's this simple solution. We'll just give them a home, problem solved. But the reason they don't have a home is because of other things. And if you correct
it's a multitude of...
Yeah, and if you correct the other things, at the same time you fix the housing issue, then it sounds like you can move the needle.
Well, thanks for saying that, because it reminds me, the other thing I said to the city council was, we need people to bounce back. We need people to recover. We need people to, here's what we said at Union Rescue Mission: recover, get job training or career training, get a job, get a home, and get connected with a healthy community. That's what people need. We need immediate triage shelter for everybody who's willing to come in. But then we need innovative, affordable, immediate housing like container homes and 3D printed concrete homes. And, you know, in this new world, we could do a lot of inexpensive, very good housing, right? Not $1 million units. And we need to bring back recovery and expectations that somebody will have purpose and a job and feel like part of society and productivity. You know, people merely surviving and dying of addiction is not a great plan for anybody.
Do you make it is it as simple as, and again, these are honest questions because I don't know the solutions, and you've worked with the homeless population for, is it over 30 years? 37 years. So no one knows it better than you. Especially obviously worked it here in Iowa. You've worked with the homeless in LA, the biggest homeless population in the country. Is it as simple as, we will provide this housing, but you must end your lifestyle and we're going to plug you into a new thing? Or can you not set stipulations because then they won't even use your housing? Like, I imagine that's also a difficult conversation.
Well, that's a difficult conversations, but the difficult conversations need to happen. A caring human being needs to come alongside of people and get in the mud, get in the weeds, and have them have some accountability and care and community. The way our guys find success at Union Rescue Mission, we have a whole lot of it. 25% of our staff are former guests who've turned their lives around from addiction, overcome, and now work for us. And the way they do it is they focus on recovery. They have a peer group that surrounds them with the same focus. And then they get job training and get connected to a community. And that's what people need. They don't need a lonely apartment to struggle with their addiction without no services. I'm not exaggerating. They say they have these supportive services. They're non-existent in LA. And the gangs rule. On Skid Row, at least in the housing, it's gang ruled. And you could read the articles. The gangs rule the housing.
They spend, as you indicate, lots and lots of money on this.
Tens of billions.
Where does it all go?
It goes to administration. It goes mostly to developers giving kickbacks to politicians.
Wow.
I've had, it's either 3 or 4 friends on the city council who are now in prison for receiving kickbacks from this development. It's greed.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't care. I had one of my friends reach out to me, wanted me to write him a character reference, and I just couldn't do it because he's going to prison for 9 years, and he was running the city council like mafia style, and I love him, but I just couldn't bring myself to say no. He doesn't deserve to be punished for this, what he did.
What are the lessons then? Like, what are those core lessons that you bring from LA into central Iowa? Because I only say central Iowa because that is where the homeless population is. It's mostly in Des Moines. So what are the big lessons then that Iowans can learn from you so that we don't make the same mistakes that LA made?
Immediate intervention, and then immediate offer of 24/7 welcoming shelter, and then a focus on a bounce back, a recovery, a career training, job training, deal with whatever trauma has been in their lives, because there's a whole lot of trauma that has produced and a whole lot of family disintegration. Until we start strengthening the family, we're all in trouble. No society can continue on the way we're continuing on if the family disintegrates. People need connection, people need family, or they need a new community that mirrors a family. And I saw a guy in front of the theater in Waukee who was homeless the other night. It's coming, and there are people who absolutely are pushing a everybody use drugs agenda.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
true.
telling horrible lies about the effects of drugs, because I've seen what drugs do to people. They destroy lives. They've destroyed loved ones of mine, their lives, and we need a recovery focus. That recovery focus is totally lost in California. I'm with a group called North America Recovers, and we've tried to bring it back. They've won some battles in San Francisco and Portland and other places, but that focus on recovery has been lost in all the policy, from the feds to the state, to the local, to the county, to the city. I hope it's not lost in Iowa, but people who want to recover from their addiction need the support to recover from their addiction, or we're just going to continue to have people spiral out of control to their death.
It's the number one, if I can recall, I'm pretty sure the number one value that Americans have, and obviously different cultures have different values, but the number one value that Americans have is belonging. And so what you're saying is you've seen that to be true, because if people are not plugged into a unit, if they're not plugged into friendships and relationships, a lot of them end up homeless. They end up with these drug problems. And the only way to reverse that is to have the tough conversations and plug them into a community, full stop.
Yeah, and I had hoped we'd made a change in LA. We were even going to do a care court pilot early and meet people who on the streets were a danger to themselves or others, who were severely addicted and mentally ill, and have them go back to the common sense of 30 years ago, when I used to take people to Doug Smalley, the mental health referee in town, and if I showed that they were a danger to themselves or others, they'd get a 24-hour, 48-hour hold or whatever and get the help they needed, right? Well, we were on the brink of making that happen in L.A., and the city council just voted to put it off for 2 years. Put it off for 2 years while people continue to die, 6 people per day in LA County.
Are there ways city councils and local governing bodies actually inhibit progress, like directly oppose progress?
Oh, yeah.
Because I've seen articles where a local church, for example, will try to house people, and then the city government or the local city council will come in and say, you can't do that. You don't have a housing permit. And they're like, well, what's the alternative? You'd rather have these on the streets? That's not legal either. Do you run into that a lot? And do we have those problems in Iowa or not quite yet?
I don't know. I'm not been here long enough.
Yeah, you just arrived.
Thursday. But I'll find out.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, but
the city council here and the state legislature has been put on notice. Andy Bales is in town, everybody.
Yeah, and my focus is going to be on raising up kids and surrounding kids in an environment that cares about them and helps prevent homelessness. But I'll still weigh in on homeless issues and probably volunteer and connect with agencies serving people devastated by homelessness, because that's my heart. I'll continue to support Union Rescue Mission and others who really make a difference in the lives of people who are homeless. But we need to keep the focus on agencies that help people bounce back from homelessness.
Right.
People can recover. People can become brand new. I have friends in Des Moines who were once homeless who are now outstanding, productive citizens making a difference. And, don't give up on people.
Right.
Everybody needs another chance. And if that turns into 10 chances, as long as they're willing to try, we need to keep providing chances.
I want to talk to you about kids. I want to talk to you about, don't give up on people and to get engaged. These are two topics I want to get to. But first, what are those core reasons? Because I think that a lot of us just assume, someone just got addicted to drugs and then they became homeless. But it's not really that straightforward. Is it that people lose sense of community, they have some trauma, they're distant, it's a slow thing, or is it an overnight thing? What is that core thing, that core trigger that puts someone on the street?
Yeah, well, with crack cocaine in the 80s, could be overnight.
Wow, okay.
Try it on Friday and have everything sold by Monday.
Oh, to buy more.
Yeah, and
wow.
Fentanyl's much like it. Meth, the cartels poured out very cheap meth onto the streets of Skid Row and caused all kinds of mental illness and destroyed a lot of people on Skid Row. And then they didn't think they were making enough money, so then they hired a guy named The Brain to create fentanyl to mix with meth, and it became absolutely deadly. And now, while everybody's pushing naloxone, which helps you recover from overdose, unfortunately, they've introduced now horse tranquilizer, which there is no comeback from, into, I think it's in 25% of the fentanyl. So people are using horse tranquilizer to get high. And you might ask, why is everybody trying to get high?
Yeah, right.
Instead of dealing with reality? Reality's tough.
Yeah,
but
if you don't have a community, some people are left to get high.
There are healthy ways to deal with a tough life. I've had a pretty tough life.
Yeah,
and there are healthy ways: community, church, family. Alcohol and drugs is not the way to go, and we need to reset. Right, like I was talking to you earlier about. We need an incompetence reset.
Yeah.
We need people to focus on competence. We need a recovery reset, a sobriety reset, because we're not doing ourselves any favors. There are lots of people who get destroyed by the way that alcohol and drugs freely flow, at least in LA and California, and I think it's rubbed off on the Midwest.
So I wanted to ask about, and I'm not going to ask you your opinion on the policy. This isn't the type of show. But we have asked Governor Reynolds to come on the show There's been a bunch of controversy about recently. She ended a federal program. I need to dig into the details, obviously, but she ended a federal program that was focusing on childhood hunger. Then the Republicans say that there are $2 million worth of expenses and administrative expenses they need to spend for this program, which is why they ended it. And they have other programs they're going to roll out that'll fill that role. The Democrats say, no, you're ending a key program people depended on. So they both have very strong opinions about this. But the reason I bring this up is because there are a lot of people, social media, Facebook, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I see it on like X, formerly known as Twitter, that are really up in arms about, very upset and very agitated, and something must be done. In your experience, do people get in the streets and do people help when they're outraged on social media and when they're outraged in public? Does that actually translate to more volunteers or not?
It's a good question, and I'll have to dig in because that's exactly what I'll be doing, working with a food program and an before and after school education program at CFUM, cfum.org. But I would not say that there was a great increase in volunteerism as people hit the streets to protest. I think a lot of the upheaval has come from people who absolutely want chaos and what's another word for chaos? Anarchy. Unfortunately, we have a group intent on bringing anarchy to our society and taking down all traditions, all regular family traditions and values. And I think I shared the other day, they're like playing 4D chess while some of us... Who's
they?
These folks that are doing evil, right? The cartels.
Oh, okay.
The cartels making as much money as they can. The anarchists that are in the streets calling for the destruction of values. And if we don't step up and do good and be peculiar and speak the truth, who will? Yeah.
So the isolation that we see, the homelessness, the rise in drug problems, these aren't just things that are happening. I mean, they're part of it. Let me rephrase. These aren't things that are just happening by themselves. There are bad actors that are encouraging these things to happen and captivating people in this drug lifestyle because it's very profitable for them.
They're making huge money.
Sure. And
so the gangs in LA are profiting from it.
Got it.
And it's no picnic, right? I pulled out of our driveway at Union Rescue Mission, and the biggest man I'd ever seen, he looked like Najee Ali from Green Bay, nose guard, 6 foot 6, 400 pounds, beating on a woman. I said, stop beating on that woman. And he said, she owes us money. Now, what does that mean to you?
Oh, interesting.
She owes the drug gang money, right? And I said, that's still no reason to beat on a woman. Knock it off. Before I could get the words out, he was on me and attacking my car and hitting the window. And I found out later her boyfriend owed them money.
Oh.
But
they're going to beat up everybody he knows to get their money.
They're going to break your legs.
Wow.
It is not a peaceful, wonderful, everybody do drugs and get along kind of atmosphere. It is a cutthroat, greedy, killer atmosphere. And
if there's so much money being made, cartels, drug runners, I'm sure there are American companies making some money on this as well. If there is so much money being made here, is some of this money getting into city councils and governments that are essentially encouraging politicians to kind of look the other way? Is that a problem or not? I don't have any insider information at all. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question for the DEA.
Yeah.
And I know it happens in LA. I know of it happening, and I know of it. Before I left Des Moines, there was corruption.
Here?
Here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We tend to think we're insulated from that here in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's still happening?
I don't know.
Yeah, but like I said, Andy Bales is here. We're going to find out.
He just got here Thursday.
Yeah, so I'll give you another week, and then I'll ask. So what? I think the thing that what does move the needle? Then you're very clear. You're very clear that you have to plug into people, and I think there may be an element. I'll pose this in a question. But when people go out in the streets and they protest and they say, we need to be spending more money, we need to do something about this, do another program that'll fix it, is this really that people don't, like what you said earlier, people don't want to get their hands dirty, they don't want to go take the time to build the relationships, so they'd rather tell other people, go do something, go do another government program that'll fix it. And what you're saying is, that'll never fix it. Is this kind of the core problem, that if people just get off their rear end and if they believe in it, go help, we can actually turn the tide?
I believe we can. We saw it happen at Good Samaritan. We saw a coalition of 120 churches, collaboration of 120 churches who made a huge impact on the near north side, produced 156 units of housing, summer camp for over 300 kids, after school tutoring for over 300 kids. But it was the relationships, right? It was the partner-family relationships that are still alive today after almost 30 years that lasted. And, it's people who are the most valuable resource that we have. We need to be people first, not housing first or whatever it is. We need to be people first. And if we see somebody hurting on the corner, we need to reach out and find out what's your story, and I want to connect you with services, and I want to walk you through it and be your friend. And usually it's better to do that as a group. We had a church group bring us a guy, and they called me and they said, we want to get Norm, we want to get him a truck driving job and an apartment, but he's always drunk at the corner. I said, well, getting him a truck driving job won't help.
Probably not.
But
probably not going to help.
But bringing him to our recovery program,
right,
and walking him in here and saying you're going to stick with him for the whole year, that will probably
help a lot,
make the difference, right? And at the end of the year, he graduated. They were all there. They brought him coffee the whole time he was in recovery. And the day he got baptized at the church celebrated him like you can't believe, because they were all in it together. That's the kind of collaboration that can turn a life around and give somebody hope. And so we need more of that activism on the ground with people and loving people. And yes, if we took a lot of that energy away from the protests or even the wasted energy of attacking each other in social media and said, I'm going to put it to work, tutoring a child an hour or two a week and mentoring a child, because one of the biggest factors in resilience in kids is to have an adult outside the home stick with you for most of your life. We have volunteers at CFM who've kind of came alongside as readers, reading helpers with the little girls when they were in kindergarten. Those little girls are heading to Iowa State now, and they become fast friends. That's the way that I think we should make a big difference.
So obviously we're over time, but to put an end cap on this, and I want you to push back if I'm wrong, but to put an end cap on this, we can throw $1 trillion at it, but and almost nothing will happen if people don't plug into these individuals' lives and turn them around and help them. But so it's both. It's, we need the budget. We need some funding for housing. I'm not saying we don't have that presently, but we need that. But we also need the individuals who plug in. If someone is committed to an individual or a group of individuals and they really do stick with them, I know this probably is unfair, but what's the percentage chance they're going to actually turn it around, do you think? And I know it's a guess, but is it dramatically higher?
At our Good Samaritan, those moms are still doing well today.
Wow. So it dramatically increases the chances.
I tried to look for peers that are working in Des Moines on LinkedIn. I found one young lady who grew up at Good Samaritan. She's a realtor now.
Wow.
And
Wow.
We made a lasting difference. At Hope Gardens, we had an 80% success rate.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're talking, maybe just guessing here, 5% chance, no intervention, if that, up to over 80% if you just spend time with the person.
If you spend time, surround them with what they need.
Yeah.
Volunteerism.
Wow.
We could do this if we all went the same way.
And especially here in Iowa, where we have not completely lost control of the situation like LA. I mean, LA can turn it around for sure, but they are in a way rougher position than we are.
Yeah.
So right here, there's a lot of hope. Andy Bales, of course, now at CFM. How can people reach out to CFM, reach out to you if they're motivated and if they want to be one of those individuals that turns a life around?
They can email me at andy@cfm.org, cfum.org. And or call me at 626-260-4761. I was the only guy in LA that I put my phone number up on the bulletin boards or billboards.
Uh-huh.
And if somebody was homeless, they could call my number.
Wow.
And I would send an Uber to get them anywhere they were and bring them to the mission. We never turned away a family with children who came our way. We never turned away a woman who came our way. How could we with how mean the streets were? But we are going to do our best to make sure kids have a safe place to grow up, and I'll do what I can to assist with homelessness.
And we will make sure if you're driving somewhere, and you didn't write that information down, don't worry about it. We will make sure to put all that information at iowapodcast.com/homeless. That's iowapodcast.com/homeless. We will make sure to get all that up there. Andy Bales, CFM, of course, Union Rescue Mission. Thank you so much for coming on the Iowa Podcast. It's an honor to have you back.
Honor to be here.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa Podcast.